northern Arizona, there's a railroad that is both thoroughly modern as well as a timeless reminder of the old times. With lots of trains and great western scenery, the BNSF Seligman subdivision is a magnet for train watchers. Come along with us as we visit the Seligman sub and learn a little of its history. The modern-day BNSF is one of the arteries of American commerce, heavy with intermodal traffic, but also traditional freight trains, coal, and just about any kind of product that needs rail transportation. For railroad fans, this area is a premier train watching location with a huge amount of trains, challenging railroading, and beautiful scenery. But for decades, both rail fans and the public were fascinated not by the many freight trains, but by the glamorous passenger trains operated by the then owner of the line, the Santa Fe Railway. Between 1880 and 1883, this line was built by the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad, a line that the Santa Fe half-owned and soon controlled entirely. And almost from the minute it opened, the Santa Fe had a carefully crafted and very successful advertising campaign for this main line that now ran from Chicago to California, promoting not only modern trains and excellent service, but the beautiful western scenery and a nostalgic feeling of passing through the ancient land of the American Indian. The Southwest itself was made into a destination, perhaps more so than any city that the railroad actually served. In 1971, Amtrak took over all of the Santa Fe's passenger trains, and in 1995, the Burlington Northern Railroad merged with the Santa Fe to form the BNSF Railway. But even with most of the passenger trains, as well as the Santa Fe itself long gone, for rail fans, the notion that this railroad is a magical place has persisted to this day. We're in Needles, California, where we see an eastbound train leaving the BNSF's Needles subdivision, which runs from Barstow to Needles, and entering the Seligman subdivision. It's stopping to change crews and will then depart for the next crew change at Winslow, Arizona. Our train is passing the impressive El Garces Hotel, once part of the Harvey House chain of restaurants along the Santa Fe. Fred Harvey developed the concept of both chain restaurants and hotels, and the El Garces featured a formal dining room and hotel, as well as a lunch counter to serve hungry passengers who were given just enough time to eat while the train was serviced. The El Garces closed in 1949, in part because the passengers were now eating in dining cars run by Harvey, and there was no need to get off the train to eat. Happily, the El Garces is being given another life and is starting to look like new. There's a display outside with the Santa Fe signal bridge as a nod to the old times, and one can still catch a train here at the Amtrak station. Needles was a place on old Route 66, and many miles of the old highway still follow the Seligman subdivision, as we'll see as this program unfolds. Here we see a train departing the crew change at Needles and heading east. Before we leave town, let's look at the line that we will be following. Don't be fooled by scenes of trains running through the desert or the high Colorado Plateau. This is a mountain railroad with trains traveling from a low point of 456 feet above sea level a few miles east of here to a high point of 7,322 feet above sea level 240 miles east of here at the Arizona Divide near Flagstaff. The Seligman subdivision is located in the southwestern part of the United States, mostly in the state of Arizona. The western terminal for the subdivision, however, is just across the Colorado River from Arizona in Needles, California. Needles is located in the Mojave Desert, and as soon as we leave town, we're back in the desert, following the Colorado River south out of town. 12.5 miles south of Needles, the railroad turns east and crosses the river, the lowest point on the subdivision at an elevation of just 456 feet above sea level. Shortly after it crosses the river, the railway curves back north, the surveyors opting to go around the Black Mountains rather than through them. Past Yucca, the BNSF goes straight through the Sacramento Valley but is steadily climbing. In the 39 miles between the Colorado River and Kingman, the rails climb just over 3,000 feet in elevation. Just west of Kingman is one of the most interesting places for a train watcher to visit, beautiful Kingman Canyon. The two tracks split here, being on a different level from each other as they snake through the narrow canyon. Just past the canyon is the city of Kingman, the commerce hub of the region. People are often curious about the locomotives pulling the trains. During our visit, there were 3 types of engines. The General Electric ES44s were first released in 2002 and are still being manufactured. These cylinder engines develop 4,400 horsepower, and BNSF uses both the DC and AC versions. The C44-9Ws, also made by GE between 1993 and 2004. These 16-cylinder units develop 4,400 horsepower. These locomotives are undergoing a rebuild to AC traction motors and modern controls. The SD70 ACEs, built by Electromotive between 2004 and 2014. These V16 locomotives develop 4,300 horsepower. On Amtrak Southwest Chief, you'll see the General Electric P42. These 16-cylinder locomotives developed 4,200 horsepower and were built between 1992 and 2001. Also making an appearance are these Grand Canyon Railway FPA and FPB4s, built by Alco in 1959. These V12 units develop 1,800 horsepower each. We're not far from the Colorado River as the railroad descends to the lowest point on the entire route. We're at the Colorado River, the border between California and Arizona. The current bridge, seen here from the California side, was built in 1947 and replaced the Red Rock Bridge built in 1890. Here in a Santa Fe publicity photo, we see trains on both bridges. The old bridge was converted to carry Route 66 and was removed in 1978, while the new bridge continues to serve the BNSF. The 1947 bridge is still in use and just as busy as ever. The old steam locomotive water tank is still here, although it hasn't been used since the late 1950s. As soon as they leave the river, eastbound start climbing, with a ruling grade of 1.42%. The casual observer may think the desert to be flat, but it is anything but, making for interesting watching as the trains climb the hill. Just west of Kingman is Kingman Canyon, one of the more interesting places to watch trains as the tracks are on two levels. There are a variety of photo locations, both at the bottom of the canyon or going to the top. Kingman, Arizona, named for Santa Fe location engineer Louis Kingman, is a Route 66 town and is the commercial center for the area. Kingman once had a Harvey house called the Santa Fe Eating House, which was across the street from the present depot. It closed in 1932 and burned in 1952. The renovated depot serves Amtrak's Southwest Chief, and the steam locomotive water tanks still stand watch. There's even a steam locomotive in town, as Santa Fe 484 number 3759 is a memorial to the age of steam. 3759 made the ceremonial last run for steam on the Santa Fe, and it's well taken care of, worth a visit. While the steam locomotive harkens back to the old times, a couple of blocks away, one can witness trains that weren't even dreamed of when 3759 was in service. Let's take a look at the next part of our route. Leaving Kingman, we travel through the far eastern part of the Mojave Desert and actually go downhill for a few miles. As we curve around the Peacock Mountains, we start climbing again towards the summit of the grade at Yampai. Just past Valentine, the railroad goes past the short but rugged Crozier Canyon as it twists and turns its way up grade. Peach Springs is the start of Nelson Canyon, which the BNSF will follow almost all the way to Yampai Summit. Shortly past the lime plant at Nelson is Nelson Tunnel. As the canyon opens up, we reach the Yampai Divide at an elevation of 5,607 feet above sea level. Even though the railroad will climb much higher, for now it's downhill on the other side of the divide all the way to Seligman. At Pica, we pass the old steam locomotive water stop. Past Pica, the railway heads straight downhill, then curves past the crossovers at Audley, before descending the final few miles to the one-time crew change point at Seligman. We're east of Kingman in the far reaches of the Mojave Desert. An eastbound has departed Kingman and is enjoying a few miles of downgrade running. In this vast expanse, massive trains look tiny, and it is not at all uncommon to see trains meeting each other in the distance. There aren't many places where one can stand and see two trains in their entirety. The railroad and historic Route 66 have long been intertwined, and they mostly parallel each other for many miles here. Some businesses are still thriving here, complete with old cars and phone booths, while a few miles away, Route 66 fades into history. At Valentine, we enter the Crozier Canyon area, with its high mesas surrounding the valley. The valley will narrow considerably as we enter the canyon just east of here at Croser. We're several miles east of Crozier Canyon, now at Nelson Canyon. Deep in the canyon is Nelson Tunnel. In this archival footage from many years ago, we're in the cab of Amtrak's eastbound train number 4, the Southwest Chief, as we pass through the tunnel. We're at Yampai Summit, the top of the grade in both directions. We've climbed 5,151 feet in the 113 miles since crossing the Colorado River. We're a couple miles east of the summit as a westbound fights up the hill. The railroad parallels Route 66 here. This lonely stretch of highway was the basis for the animated movie Cars. Pica was once a steam locomotive water stop. The tanks remain, although the pump house and water treatment buildings have long since been torn down. Audley is only 14 miles from Yampai Summit, but this train has already lost 394 feet in elevation. Seligman is an old Route 66 town that has seen better days, although it's trying to make a go of it by capitalizing on the Route 66 nostalgia business. There was once a Harvey house here known as the Havasu. Opened in 1905, it was truly an oasis of civilization in the desert. After it closed in 1954, it was used by the Santa Fe as a crew change point, resting crews using the old hotel rooms. Eventually, the crew change was eliminated here, and the Havasu was torn down in 2008. Here we see a westbound rolling in from Crookton shortly before the once grand hotel was demolished. Leaving Seligman, we begin climbing again. A few miles east of town, the railroad and Route 66 part company, with the abandoned bridge on the east side making for a great photo location. A mile or so east of Route 66 are the crossovers at Crookton. Until 1960, the two lines diverging to the right were in fact the main line of the Santa Fe Railway, as the railroad we see going off to the left did not exist. Here, the Santa Fe split into two distinct routes, both being a slow, rugged place to run trains. Going several miles east of Ash Fork was where things really got interesting, with two main lines twisting back and forth all over the place. One of these lines is still used by the Phoenix subdivision, but with far fewer trains than when it was a main line. Going back to Crookton, we see the solution to all of this, what the Santa Fe called the Crookton-Williams line change, while today it's generally called the Crookton Cutoff. Here they built an entirely new railroad using heavy machinery undreamed of when the line was first built. With wide sweeping curves and a maximum grade of 1%, compared to what we just saw to the south, this is a dream railroad. Although running downgrade from Crookton, at Eagle Nest, the line begins climbing again, which it will almost all the way to Flagstaff. At Williams Junction, new and old come together again, with the line change on the left and the original main line, part of which is now used by the Phoenix branch, coming in to the right. We're on the abandoned Route 66 bridge just west of Crookton, where we see a westbound. As we gain elevation, we'll run into more snow. Just around the curve beyond the end of the train is Crookton, the western end of the line relocation. We're back in the cab of Amtrak's Southwest Chief through this scenic area. The Chief is allowed to run 90 miles an hour through here, much faster than it ever could if it were still using the old route. Here we get to see both the deep cuts and high fills that enabled this trackage not to have to follow every bump in the surrounding landscape. We're at Eagle Nest, where the line change again begins climbing towards the summit of the Arizona Divide, still roughly 56 miles away. The massive work to build the line change is evident by looking at this fill at East Eagle Nest. We're at Williams Junction, the eastern end of the line change. When the new line was opened, there was a new station built here to serve nearby Williams, which was being bypassed by the new main line. The station is long gone. Amtrak's Southwest Chief serves Williams with his platform and shelter. Williams is another old Route 66 town. It's a popular destination as it's one of the gateways to the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon Railway offers daily service on the Santa Fe's old Grand Canyon branch from its restored Harvey House and station, the Fray Marcos. When the line change opened, passenger trains no longer stopped here. Now happily they do once again, and the Grand Canyon Railway is well worth a visit. We're moving across the state, Williams being directly south of the Grand Canyon Village. We're looking toward the west, and we can see a Grand Canyon Railway train sitting at the Fray Marcos Harvey House. Beyond that to the west is the original main line to Crookton, which now only goes to Ash Fork before it goes south to Phoenix. Once again heading east, we've rejoined the main line at Williams Junction. We're entering the only Alpine area on the entire railroad. Although the railroad is still climbing towards the summit of the Arizona Divide, it still has several peaks and valleys along the way. For example, the location known as Maine is at the top of grades in both directions. Shortly east of Belmont, we at last reached the summit of the Arizona Divide at an elevation of 7,322 feet above sea level. A few miles east of the summit is the city of Flagstaff, the center of commerce for the region. Downtown is the classic old Santa Fe depot, where we'll spend some time watching trains. Maine is one of the classic photo locations on this line, as it's the summit of a grade in each direction.
We're on board the Southwest Chief again as we at last crest the Arizona Divide, some 6,800 feet higher than when we crossed the Colorado River. Flagstaff, with the population of over 70,000 people, is by far the largest community on the Seligman subdivision. There are 2 depots here. This sandstone station was built in 1888 and is now a BNSF office building. The current train depot was built in 1926 and reflected Flagstaff's growing importance. Today, it's the local visitor center, as well as being what it has always been, a working train station. Amtrak's Southwest Chief stops here in the nighttime hours, so during the day, it's usually the constant parade of freight trains. This train had its lead unit removed at Williams due to mechanical problems. During the night, the pace picks up at the station as passengers begin showing up waiting for the arrival of the westbound Southwest Chief. While they wait, the freights keep rolling. Amtrak train number 3, the Southwest Chief, originated in Chicago and serves a multitude of communities along the way. Flagstaff is a major stop for the Chief, as it's not only the largest city between Albuquerque, New Mexico and San Bernardino, California, but a university town, as well as a gateway city for the Grand Canyon. Unlike Williams with its Amshack and simple platform, this is a staff station with baggage service and a popular stop for the chief. As number 3 rolls east, things here will quiet down until its counterpart, train number 4, arrives from Los Angeles in a few hours. We've traveled over halfway across Arizona, and we're on the final leg of our visit to the Seligman subdivision. Leaving Flagstaff, we head east, once again paralleling historic Route 66. This urban setting is definitely different from the rest of the Seligman subdivision. Just east of town, Route 66 crosses the BNSF, making for a nice mountain scene. Continuing east, Coconino and Darling both present photo opportunities with cuts and curves. The area soon takes on a desert appearance, and we come upon one of the signature places on the line, Canyon Diablo. We continue across the flatlands until we reach the eastern end of the Seligman subdivision at Winslow. There's a yard here and a crew change point. Winslow has a Harvey house as well, known as the La Posada, where we'll end our visit. We're a few miles east of Flagstaff, where the one-time Route 66 crosses the one-time Santa Fe Railway, as Mount Eldon provides a Christmas card background to this snowy scene. We're 30 miles east of Flagstaff at one of the signature locations on the Seligman subdivision, Canyon Diablo. Here, the railroad crosses the deep canyon on this 540-foot-long, arched, double-track bridge opened in September of 1947. It replaced the original span, opened in 1882, whose bridge abutments remain to this day. East of the canyon, trains roll across the flatlands the 24 miles to Winslow. Winslow is a classic western town that looks like time has passed it by. This is a crew change point, as well as the location of another fine old Harvey house. The La Posada is a restored hotel, restaurant, and train station, and is the eastern end of the Seligman subdivision, the Gallup sub continuing on to the east. We'll close our program back at Crookton as we see a westbound heading into one of those classic western sunsets.